Okay, so recently DJ Akademiks called out Rory and Mal on his Twitch stream, tried to expose Rory and Mal, calling them bum ass niggas, saying that they have no ownership, they're not bosses, they're Joe's ad-libbers, pretty much saying they have no type of standing in the music industry and they're nobodies and they're not cool. And I don't know what Akademiks was on. Star in the Star report said that he wasn't drinking Henny and he was just drinking water, so this was sober Akademiks. I'd seen a bit of the Twitch stream and he had a fat bottle of Henny. I seen when he took a swig of it. So Akademiks is always gonna do his Twitch streams drunk off the Henny, getting into his character where he shouts and screams on niggas and acts like he's that guy. He's always gonna get into that mode. I don't believe there was any validity to a lot of the shit he was saying about Rory and Mal. He's just mad and he's taking it out. He's taking it out on anybody that calls him out, anybody with a certain stature in hip hop that says anything negative about him. He seems like he's going on his rants now, like he's fed up. But Rory and Mal clown him most times. At the end of the day, they say they're not. It's like, for me, the way I look at it, it's like, how can you beef Akademiks? He doesn't leave the house. He doesn't leave the house. It's like you can't take him seriously at the end of the day. He shouts on niggas, but he won't do half of that shit in anybody's face. So it's like, what are you to take from that? What are you to peel away from somebody that talks tough, that says admittedly that they'll call the police and they'll do that shit if they're in an altercation with somebody, and they don't leave the house anyway. So it's like, what are you going to even say to that? He's tried to say that Rory and Mal are ad-libbers. They don't bring nothing to the show. Joe's carrying their weight, and they're certified employees, and he talked about boss talk and himself being a boss and Rory and Mal being employees. The way I see it, I don't see Rory and Mal as employee ass niggas and not being a boss. I feel like they're part of the team. Not everybody is a solo warrior out here being the boss in their business, as in the only person in the business. I feel like they're not employees for a hip hop company, a media company or whatever. They're friends with Joe and they built the show with Joe. I know it's called the Joe Budden podcast, but he's the biggest celebrity. So obviously they're going to lean into his name and make it his podcast. He does most of the talking on the podcast, but they do contribute their perspective and it is a team effort. So I wouldn't call them employees. I feel like they are entrepreneurs. I feel like they have a part stake in the business. But then for me, the way I look at it, what Akademiks was doing was setting a bad precedent. He was talking about, this black ownership this. But it's like, at the end of the day, you don't want to discourage people from being teams and working together, because more black people in the black community need to work together. Although you want to preach ownership and entrepreneurship, they're still doing that. It doesn't have to be a solo venture for you to be or for you to be an entrepreneur, or you to have this look like you're the boss or whatever the hell you have to work together at the end of the day. I don't see them as Joe's employees. I listen to the podcast. I know Joe's the main guy in the podcast, the main host, but at the end of the day, I don't know. It's a perspective thing. Because at the end of the day, it's like, is Akademiks even a boss? I know he created his platform, create all sorts of uploads, hundreds of thousands of views, million views. Like, he's out here like that. Like, he's made his name in hip hop as like one of the top hip hop outlets, independent. So you can't take that away from Akademiks at the end of the day. But he is an employee for Complex. So it's like, you can be an entrepreneur, have your own ventures, be a boss, and then work for somebody else and make another bag. But does that really make you a true boss or a true entrepreneur? It's like, the way I look at it, there is bosses out here. There's people that, have partnerships and deals or whatever, but they're not working for anybody else. Like, Jay-Z isn't working for anybody else. Jay-Z is a boss. I don't know, like, Joe Budden has his entrepreneurial ventures. The pull-up is his, I believe. His show on Revolt, State of the Culture, I don't know if he owns the IP of that show, but it is under Revolt, so he can be looked at as a Diddy employee, or you can look at it as a partnership. Who knows? But Everyday Struggle, With Akademiks, I don't think that's a partnership. Definitely not, because Joe left and Joe wasn't mad. Joe was mad with the money that they were paying him or whatever. I don't know. I can't remember what he was mad about right now, but their contract workings wasn't right. And Joe left Everyday Struggle. He was an employee for Complex at that time, and so is Akademiks. So I don't know what they want to consider being a boss. Is it just having everything independent, working for nobody, running your own show? Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm running my own show. I don't work for anybody. I can be considered a boss in that regard then. But at the end of the day, what are we considering a boss? Someone that owns their own business, someone that owns several businesses but will also be employed for somebody else. Is that a boss? Because a lot of people wouldn't see that as being the boss. They would see that as, yeah, you have your own stake, but you're also an employee here. I don't know, man. All this boss talk is just tired. At the end of the day, if you're making your bag, you're making your bag. We do want to preach ownership, so have ownership in something. So Akademiks does have his ownership. He can say he's a boss in a regard, but he can also say he's an employee in another regard. So I don't know where to go with that. I feel like a lot of shit he was saying about Rory and Mal wasn't really valid. He was just mad at them for saying their opinion about him. And Akademiks has to stop taking everything so personal. Everyone's going to have their opinion about you. You're in the media. You're in the public. I know these are your contemporary. These aren't just random fans talking shit. But at the end of the day, you can't control anybody's opinion. If you come across as a sucker and they look at you like that, and they look at you as a clown, a dork that won't leave the house, has all the time to do everything in his media circle and media space because he doesn't leave the house, he has no life, no friends or whatever. If they look at you like that, then that's just the perception you put off. You can't control people's perception of what they see in the media. Everyone's going to have their own thoughts. It's up to you to really care to validate their thoughts by actually giving a fuck about their thoughts. I don't know. I spent enough time on this. Let's move on to another subject.